Welcome back, degenerates, to Place Your Bets. I'm Tyler James. He's the one and only Eric Hansen. We cover Notre Dame football, recruiting, and more for InsideNDSports.com on the Rivals Network. And we like to make prop bets and predictions about Notre Dame football. Our season-long competition on the Insider Lounge rewards the first-place subscriber with a free 12-month extension of their subscription, and second place gets 6 free months. And as always, there's a thread to submit your picks listed in the video description below. We had a second consecutive week, Eric, with a push as both Notre Dame and Georgia Tech had the same number of fourth down conversions. But we still had plenty of subscribers hit the other 4 prop bets. So shout out to BMM2834, Coles021, Keegan0615, Future Dumber Dad, Colonel Chad, Skills32, Rover219, and ND501988. Eric, unfortunately for you, your hot streak came to a violent halt as you were the only contestant to not get a single prop bet correct. We even had some folks on the Insider Lounge wondering if you forgot to submit your picks. I was like, well, we record a video. He doesn't have to submit them at all. So what went wrong, Eric?
I just didn't handle success. I learned that from earlier this season. So I had to learn all over again to handle success. And that will be my aim this week.
All right. Well, you're still a couple.
And I did say in the video, I think I said, this is kind of counterintuitive. You know what? I think I have to not do the counterintuitive thing anymore. I think
you gotta stick with your intuition. All right. Well, you're still a couple ahead of me in the season standings. You have
Thank God.
You have 21. I have 19. And our leader remains BMM 2834 with 26.
How did Scott Claracy do? Because we were like twins in terms of being good.
I think he's in the mix. He has not been consistently at the top like he was last season. So
okay,
maybe he's listening to our picks too much.
Yeah.
So let's see if either of us can catch up with BMM with our prop bets for Notre Dame's trip to New Jersey this weekend to play against Navy. Okay. All right, first one I have for us. Will the turnover margin wind up in Notre Dame's favor, Navy's favor, or even?
So you didn't want to push this week.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid a push this time.
Yeah. I mean, Navy's really good in turnover margin. Notre Dame's really been improving there. I think Navy's going to have a hard time turning Notre Dame over. I can see this game almost being turnover free. So I'm going to go even.
Yeah, I went even as well. Notre Dame has 8 lost turnovers and 12 turnovers gained this season. Navy has only lost 2 turnovers and 14 turnovers gained this season. I wouldn't be surprised if both teams turn the ball over. I think this is a bigger moment than Navy has faced this season. So maybe there's a chance for a turnover there. And Notre Dame hasn't necessarily been clean with the football. Like there have been moments here or there, even on special teams, that have led to turnovers. So I'm going to go with even if and maybe not with 0, but maybe 1 each for the teams.
Well, I'm not going to be that specific. I'm just going to say even.
You can be as least specific as you want.
I'm learning to live with success.
You just don't want to help the listeners, so you're not giving them any extra information that's necessary.
Only Scott Claracy. Scott can email me and we'll go together and go.
All right, next one is over under 8.5 tackles for Jack Kiser.
He has a lot of tackles against Navy all the time. Where I'm wondering if it's going to be under 8 and I'm going to go under is because I think Notre Dame will somewhat play their rotation, and Navy only averages 59 plays a game on offense. They're underwater. They're like 11 more defensive plays a game. That reflects their explosiveness in their offense. So, and with some of the passing game stuff, although he could end up covering those snipe backs, but I'm still going to go under.
I'm going to go over. Like you mentioned, he's been pretty prolific against Navy in the past. He's had 8 in each of the past 2 games. He's the most experienced linebacker by a long shot for Notre Dame against an option attack. So I'm going with over. I think he's just someone that, even though obviously you have to be very assignment specific when going against the option, I think he's someone that helps sort of cover for mistakes in a game like this. So I'm predicting over. All right, next up, which quarterback will have a longer completion, Riley Leonard or Blake Horvath?
Navy's pass defense isn't bad. Notre Dame's is really good. Blake's had some, what tends to happen with Navy's passes is a lot of them are long. And Riley Leonard's don't tend to be that. But I think the matchups in this game, I could see Bo Collins as a boundary receiver without a really good matchup on Navy's side getting a long one. So I'm going with Riley Leonard.
Yeah, I'm going with Leonard as well. I just like Notre Dame's matchup against the Navy secondary a bit better than I do vice versa. The numbers aren't that different. Like Blake Horvath has had 6 completions of 30-plus yards this season. Riley Leonard's had 5. Horvath has had 2 of 70-plus. That's where the biggest difference is, and 3 of 40-plus. And Leonard's only had 1 beyond 30-plus, and that was in the 50 to 60-yard range. So I think I'm giving a slight edge to Leonard in this one.
Okay.
All right, next up, over under 4.5 receptions for Mitchell Evans.
Boy, I wanted to go under on this, and I am going over. I think Mitchell Evans is ripe for a big game, and I think he's a matchup nightmare for Navy. I don't think that there's somebody – I don't think they put their safety on him, their good safety on him. I think they try to cover him with a linebacker, and I think that's going to be something that Notre Dame's able to exploit. So I'm going over. And he had 4 last week, which was a season high.
Right, and he hasn't had more than 27 receiving yards in a game this season. That was even knowing how his season has gone and seeing that on paper, I was like, man, that's kind of a wild stat to think that someone that was such an integral part of Notre Dame's passing offense last season just hasn't been able to get that kind of production for Notre Dame this season. Obviously, coming back from injury, so there's a good.
That was a good interview with him though Tuesday. I mean, you ended up transcribing that, so you know everything that was in that interview. You were there.
Yeah,
I thought that was very telling.
Yeah, it was me and Tyler Horka were for the most part us two asking him questions, and so yeah, it was interesting to talk to him about the recovery process. And if you missed some of the quotes from that, head over to the Insider Lounge. We have some of the highlights,
greatest hits,
and the greatest hits that Eric puts together every week. So yeah, I'm going over. I just have a good feeling about him having a bigger performance against this Navy defense. And set another season high. All right, next up, which team will have more rushing touchdowns?
I went with Notre Dame here. I mean, based on my score prediction, Notre Dame's going to have more touchdowns. And then how many will those be rushing touchdowns? I think the big part of this game that maybe isn't being talked about universally a lot is Notre Dame's rush offense. I think it's a bad matchup for Navy. And sorry about that. I went faded. I didn't move my mouse enough, I guess. I faded out. It was like Esmeralda from the old Bewitched series. Anyways, my answer is Notre Dame. We'll just leave it at that. Maybe I'll fade out. Maybe it was telling me something.
I was waiting for red. I was waiting for red curtains to come across the screen. That's all, folks. I'm going with Notre Dame as well. The numbers are pretty close, even though Notre Dame has played one more game. Navy has 23 rushing touchdowns. Notre Dame has 22 rushing touchdowns, but like you, I have Notre Dame getting to the end zone more frequently on Saturday, and I think Notre Dame will the majority of those touchdowns will be in the running game. So I'm going with Notre Dame as well. All right, for fun, how early in the TV broadcast will the college football playoff be mentioned?
I think they'll mention it in the intro. I think really I do, because it's realistic that Navy is going to be in the playoff picture, especially if they beat Notre Dame. But even if they don't, there's a chance that they could come in the back door if something happens to Boise State and then they go on and win their conference. So that's what I'll say. But if they mention style points at any point, I will have a throw up trash can near me so that I can take care of that.
If they mention style points, I want you to tweet a picture of the trash can that you put next to you. You don't have to show us the inside of it.
Okay,
but just
I will do that.
Show us the trash can. It'll be an inside joke for
It'll be
everyone
my style points trash can.
Everyone who watches Place Your Bets. Yeah, at least like this time, both teams are in the playoff conversation, so playoff will be at least a worthy discussion point. Maybe not in the same way it was, and as frequently as it was for the Georgia Tech game. I said that they'll show it while they're showing the teams run, or they'll mention it while showing the teams running out into the field. I do think it'll happen pretty early, and I don't think it's a coincidence that when you're on a ABC or ESPN game that the playoff is going to be a large topic of conversation because they have the rights to those games. All right, last one. Final score prediction for Notre Dame Navy.
I kind of came up with this one on the fly. I'm not super confident in it, but I'm going to go Notre Dame 31, Navy 17.
All right. I think that might have been what I predicted last week. It was somewhere in that ballpark, and I'm not far off again this week. I'm with Notre Dame 31, Navy 21. I think that would be the second most points.
Just
Notre Dame.
Use the same score prediction every week.
It would be funny how long I could get away with that until someone noticed it. Just keeps repeating the same score. But yeah, I think Notre Dame will win this one. I don't think it's necessarily going to be comfortable throughout, but Navy's going to be able to have some success on offense. And keep it close, but
they've never lost in MetLife Stadium. Now they've only played 2 games there, but one of them was against Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've seen Notre Dame lose in MetLife Stadium, but I don't know that I have.
You weren't with us. It was 2010.
Well, I meant just not. They've played other teams in Navy too.
Yeah,
I saw them play Syracuse as well.
Yeah,
out there. But all right, that'll be it for Place Your Bets. Best of luck with your predictions, everyone out there. Enjoy another Saturday of college football, and we'll talk to you after the game.